padamkan komputer untuk lebih penjimatan. Satu lagi idea bernas untuk anda.
Good evening, keluarga Malaysia. You're watching News at 10. I'm Shuhaida Arifin, making the headlines tonight. Retabling of Budget 2023 may include some adjustments. Chicken egg subsidy raised to 10 cent effective immediately. The Election Commission EC has announced that the nomination papers for the 15th General Election GE15 and state by-election for Bugaya seat in Sabah can only be submitted from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. this Saturday. EC Secretary Dato' Ikmaruddin Ishak said the papers must be submitted to the returning officer at the 222 stipulated nomination centres. It must be submitted by either one or two of these people, the candidate himself, the proposer and the seconder. To ensure the smoother running of the nomination process, the EC proposes that the prospective candidates for the GE15 and Bugaya by-election fill in their forms and run a preliminary check at the returning officer's office or state election office nationwide before the nomination day. All prospective candidates are also advised to pay their deposit early and bring the approval letter to use the symbol of the party they were representing. The EC also called on all candidates and parties involved to always adhere to the laws, rules and regulations as well as the code of conduct and instructions issued by the EC, police and the local authorities on the nomination day. Budget 2023 may see some adjustments based on the economy during the time it is retabled. Nonetheless, Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz stressed that the budget, which was tabled on 7 October, is not only a responsible budget, but is also inclusive, more progressive and most importantly, sustainable. Speaking at the Straits Times inaugural Asia Future Summit in Singapore, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul noted that the budget not only prioritises spending in the most important sectors for the economy to grow, but also develops the right groups to move upwards and also areas that are underdeveloped than others. He highlighted that the budget would see a deficit going down, adding that the government would have to see the situation of the global economy that would affect the Malaysian economy. Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul was asked whether Budget 2023 would be retabled as it is or close to what was presented last month if Barisan Nasional BN wins the upcoming 15th general election. To a question on whether the BN government would introduce a less populist policy after the general election, such as targeted subsidies or reintroducing Goods and Services Tax GST, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul replied that the government would obviously not commit to any drastic measures that was not outlined for fear that choking the growth momentum. The government has agreed to increase the subsidy for grade A, B and C eggs by 2 cents effective immediately. The Special Task Force on Jihad Against Inflation Chairman Tan Sri Anwar Musa said this followed the increase of the subsidy at the farm level from 8 cents to 10 cents per eggs to retain the retail control price for grade A, B and C eggs. The additional subsidy is expected to benefit 338 chicken farms to ensure a more consistent and stable supply in the market.
Dengan pengumuman saya ini, diminta jawatan kuasa khususnya pihak MAFI, Kementerian Pertanian, hendaklah segera melaksanakan dengan menggunakan kaedah-kaedah perinciannya bolehlah dirujuk kepada Kementerian Kewangan bahagian belanjawan, tapi ini hanyalah tambah kepada sistem membayar yang telah pun already in place, tapi instead of paying 8 cent for every eggs, they can increase to 10 cent. Jadi dengan kos 49 tanpa 2 jadi 21, menyamai lebih kurang kos tanpa margin untung yang besar, kita faham. Tetapi setidak-tidaknya kita harap pengeluar-pengeluar akan dapat mula mengambil langkah-langkah untuk meningkatkan pengeluaran.
As of September this year, the government had approved 1.2 billion ringgit for chicken and egg subsidies to control the price of the items for consumers. About 12 million users will enjoy 5G services by the end of this year after 5 of 6 mobile telecommunications service companies signed an access agreement with Digital Nasional Berhad DNB yesterday. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the 5 companies are Celcom Network Sendirian Berhad, DG Telecommunications Sendirian Berhad, U Mobile Sendirian Berhad, YTL Communications and Telekom Malaysia Berhad TM. Maxis Berhad, which did not sign the deal with DNB, said in a statement yesterday that it was assessing the government's requirement for the 5G access agreement and is committed to bringing it to a close as soon as possible. Tan Sri Anwar said through the agreement, the companies would be able to provide 5G services to be enjoyed by about 12 million phone users by the end of this year. So far, the provision of 5G infrastructure or towers across the country is at 33.2%. The amendments to the Trade Unions Act 1959 were not aimed at suppressing the trade union, but rather to increase the number of trade unions in the country. Human Resources Minister Dato' Sri M. Sarabanan said it would open up more opportunities for workers to join any union of their choice for their benefit.
Kalau kita lihat kesatuan-kesatuan sedang ada dari segi keanggotaan, walaupun ada 15 juta pekerja, tetapi tak sampai 10% pun jadi ahli. Sebab ada persatuan yang membelot dan sebagainya. Maka kita buka untuk menambahkan persatuan-persatuan di mana ramai lagi boleh menyertai. Ini satu-satu usaha baik. Lagipun inilah budaya antarabangsa yang dikenali melalui ILO.
Dato' Sri Saravanan was refuting claims by certain parties that the amendment to the Act would weaken the trade union. On 5th October, the Dewan Rakyat passed the bill which aims to allow more than one union to be formed in a single workplace and to increase the membership of trade unions. Agrobank and Foodpanda Malaysia Sendirian Berhad have signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU to provide financial and for Foodpanda home-based vendors to start and grow their businesses from 50 million ringgit fund allocation. The partnership will enable Foodpanda's vendors and delivery partners under its Home Chef program to access Agrobank's Pemulih New Biz Financing program, a microfinancing scheme for individuals who aspire to start their own home-based business.
And will continue to Kedah, Sabah, Sarawak, Kelantan.
President and Chief Executive Officer of Agrobank, Tengku Ahmad Badli Shah Raja Hussein said the partnership will further boost the bank's vision to lead the nation's agricultural sector and to meet the needs of the agro-food communities, including those carrying out upstream and downstream activities.
We are confident that with this Agrobank partnership,
ini ialah khas untuk nano or micro entrepreneur yang memulakan perniagaan di rumah. Kita menyambut baik seruan kerajaan untuk menolong golongan-golongan yang untuk mendapatkan additional income ataupun golongan asnaf, golongan B40 yang untuk menambahkan pendapatan mereka.
Tengku Ahmad Badli Shah said no collateral is needed and each vendor under the program is entitled to a loan of 5,000 ringgit with a moratorium for the first 6 months. The vendor will be charged with a 3% profit rate for the 7th month with a maximum financing period of up to 60 months. Still ahead, KT bypass finally open, expected to reduce traffic congestion. After a 3-year delay, the Kuala Terengganu KT bypass, which connects Kuala Ibai and Kampung Durian Burung near Kuala Terengganu, has finally opened for the convenience of over 70,000 road users. Senior Work Minister Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof said the 5.8-kilometre road could reduce traffic congestion on the existing Jalan Persekutuan in the city of Kuala Terengganu, especially during peak hours, major festive seasons and school holidays. The bypass, which was approved by the federal government in the third rolling plan of the 10th Malaysia Plan, initially cost RM250 million, but that amount increased to RM384.3 million due to a threefold increase in land acquisition costs.
Tak lama lah, tapi disebabkan cabaran untuk melaksanakan termasuklah pengalihan utiliti, pengambilan tanah dan sebagainya, dan dengan keadaan COVID dan sebagainya akhirnya dapat disiapkan. Dengan kenaikan kos seperti yang saya ucapkan tadi, iaitu pengambilan tanah peningkatan 3 kali ganda, dan juga kerja-kerja pengalihan utiliti merupakan cabaran utama di samping keadaan COVID yang mengekang kerja-kerja berjalan dengan lebih lancar lagi. Tapi alhamdulillah, apapun ianya dapat disiapkan walaupun ada extension of time.
The senior minister was met after officiating the opening of the KT bypass in Kuala Terengganu. At the event, Datuk Seri Fadilah also presented the letter of acceptance to the contractor who successfully secured contracts from the Public Works Department involving 3 projects in Kelantan. The newest edition of the Dewan Perdana Dictionary, which contains over 120,000 rude words, showcases the development of Malay vocabulary in a period of over a century. Senior Education Minister Datuk Dr. Razzie Jidin said the dictionary is expected to become the main reference for all in terms of the Malay language. Dewan Perdana Dictionary is the newest dictionary produced by Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka DBP and is the first Malay language dictionary in the world to use data sources from the corpus database developed by DBP as well as internet data.
Dan usaha yang telah dilaksanakan oleh editor-editor serta semua pihak yang terlibat dalam menyiapkan kamus ini yang cukup bermakna akan terus abadi sebagai jariah saudara-saudara sekalian. Ini merupakan satu sumbangan penting kepada bahasa, iaitu sumbangan penting kepada generasi masa hadapan.
Datuk Dr. Razzie said the Malay language is rapidly developing in the current digitalization era and is expected that many new words would be introduced in the future. According to him, it is important that the dictionary is digitalized to serve as a good reference not only for those in Malaysia but also the entire world. A police investigation into the case of a crane incident that left 2 men dead and 1 injured at a factory in the industrial area in Kampung Aceh, Setiawan yesterday found no element of crime. Perak Police Chief Dato' Muhammad Yusri Hassan Basri said police received a call about the crane collapse at 5:15 p.m. and rushed to the scene with the fire rescue department. Rescuers who arrived at the scene extracted the victims using special equipment with the assistance from cranes. Datuk Muhammad Yusri said, according to witnesses, the 2 dead victims were carrying out crane cutting work at the disposal site before the crane suddenly fell and crushed them to death on the spot.
Manakala seorang lelaki berumur 34 tahun yang juga berasal dari Sabah mengalami kecederaan iaitu patah kaki kanan dan telah dihantar ke Hospital Seri Manjung untuk rawatan lanjut. Setakat ini, hasil siasatan pihak polis mendapati tidak terdapat sebarang unsur jenayah dalam kejadian tersebut dan kes diklasifikasikan sebagai sudden death report, SDR.
Datuk Muhammad Yusri further noted that operation at the factory had been temporarily halted until the investigation into the incident was completed at the scene. Meanwhile, Dato' Muhammad Yusri said the police are tracking the people who dumped 33 drums filled with liquid chemicals found in an open area near the Gopeng Rural Transformation Centre RTC yesterday. He said the Environment Department is conducting a safety assessment apart from measuring the air pollution index at the scene.
Jadi pihak kita telah menjalankan siasatan dan pihak kita telah pihak polis telah menyerahkan kepada pihak Jabatan Alam Sekitar untuk menjalankan siasatan dalam kes ini. Yes, jika kita menjumpai petunjuk ataupun suspek-suspek yang melakukan perkara ini, kita akan membuat tangkapan.
Dato' Muhammad Yusri advised the public not to go anywhere near the location. A spokesman of the Perak Fire and Rescue Department reportedly said that all the drums were found to be leaking and each barrel contained 20% of liquid scheduled waste. They were believed to have been dumped illegally by irresponsible parties. Coming up in our foreign segment, South Korea police admit failures at Halloween tragedy. The death toll from an Indian footbridge collapse rose to at least 135 today, with search operations entering a third day, although authorities said nearly all those believed to have been missing are now accounted for. The colonial-era suspension bridge over the Machu River in Morbi was packed with sightseers when it broke on Sunday evening, sending people plunging about 10 meters into the water. Authorities said they believed that around 200 people were on the bridge when it collapsed. A senior administrative official in Morbi said one person who was injured in the incident and admitted to hospital succumbed to his injuries, taking the toll to at least 135. Indian Army, Navy and National Disaster Response Force teams continued search operations as locals gathered on the banks of the river. The bridge, 233 meters in length and 1.25 meters wide, was originally built in 1877 and had been closed for 6 months for repairs until last week. 9 people have been arrested on homicide charges over the collapse of the 150-year-old structure. South Korean police admitted their emergency response to a deadly Halloween crush had been insufficient, with the top officials saying crowd management failures had likely contributed to the disaster. At least 156, mostly young people, were killed and scores more injured in a deadly crowd surge late Saturday at the first post-pandemic Halloween party in Seoul's popular Itaewon nightlife district. An estimated 100,000 people had flocked to the area, but because it was not an official event with a designated organizer, neither the police nor local authorities were actively managing the crowd. National Police Chief Yoon Hee-kun said police knew a large crowd had gathered even before the accident occurred, urgently indicating the danger, acknowledging the way the information was handled has been insufficient. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo said a lack of a proper crowd management system may have been the cause of the incident, adding that a full review was ongoing. Seoul's Interior Minister Lee Sang-min, who had been criticised for earlier comments in which he claimed deploying more police would not have prevented the crush, apologised for the disaster. He promised to investigate what had caused the crowd crush and to ensure a disaster of this scale could never happen again. Greece rescued at least 9 migrants and was searching for dozens of others believed to be missing after their boat sank off the island of Evia earlier today. The Coast Guard said at least 9 people were rescued from the shore of Cape Kafirias on the southeastern tip of Evia Island amidst high winds reaching 7 to 8 on the Beaufort scale. Video released by the Coast Guard showed the rescue boat searching for the migrants found huddled on shore in choppy waters. According to the migrants' accounts, some 68 people were on the boat. A Coast Guard vessel, a helicopter and 2 boats sailing nearby were taking part in rescue operation under the gale force winds. Greece, Italy, Spain are destinations for people fleeing Africa and West Asia in search of safety and better lives in the European Union. The Greek Coast Guard has said it rescued about 1,500 people in the first 8 months of this year compared to fewer than 600 last year. Greek officials say some smugglers now often take a longer and more perilous route south, sailing out from Lebanon instead of Turkey to bypass EU patrols in the Aegean Sea in a bid to reach Italy. Danes went to the polls today with Prime Minister Frederiksen hoping for a vote of confidence in her handling of the pandemic and for her leadership to overcome soaring inflation and geopolitical insecurity. The election has turned into a battle for centrist voters, with former Prime Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen likely to become a kingmaker with his new party, the Moderates, as neither the ruling left nor the right-wing opposition looks set to win a majority. The vote comes as high energy prices and the highest inflation in 4 decades eat into household economies, and only a month after the sabotage of 2 pipelines carrying gas from Russia to Germany through Danish waters fueled an unprecedented sense of insecurity among Danes. Polls indicate that Frederiksen and her Social Democratic Party will gain slightly to again become the biggest party in Parliament. It is, however, far from certain that she will be able to stay in power. A poll published late on Monday by Gallup for Daily Berlingske showed that 24% of voters had not yet decided who to back. The voting stations open at 8 a.m. local time and they are scheduled to close at 8 p.m. with the first results are expected around 9:30 p.m. Next in sports, Sarawak and Melaka confirm out of 2023 Super League. Two-time Malaysia Cup champion Johor Takzim JDT advanced into the 2022 Malaysia Cup quarter-finals in style after beating Petaling Jaya PJCT FC with a 6-0 aggregate at Sultan Ibrahim Stadium last night. With a 4-0 lead entering their second leg round of 16 match, JDT scored early in the 4th minute through Brazilian import Bergson da Silva from around 30 metres out. Bergson then set Fernando Forestieri up to score in the 73rd minute, securing their quarter-final match against Kelantan FC. In Kelantan, the Red Warriors secured the quarter-finals slot after beating Sarawak United FC 2-1 on aggregate. The Red Warriors went ahead in the 13th minute courtesy of Nur Syamil Abdul Ghani at Sultan Muhammad IV Stadium, Kota Baru, before Sarawak United equalised through a Raja Imran Shah header in the 31st minute. The match ended in 1-1 draw, but thanks to a 1-goal advantage in the first leg, Kelantan advanced to the quarter-finals. Meanwhile, Kuching City FC beat Penang FC 4-3 on an aggregate to also advance to the quarter-finals of the Malaysia Cup. The winner of the second leg match between Kuching City and Penang was determined in extra time after a 1-1 draw in 90 minutes, with one Muhammad Faiz, one Sulaiman of Kuching City scoring the winning goal of the match in the 118th minute. Penang's Lucas Silva had scored earlier in the 22nd minute, only to see Alif Hassan equalise through a free kick in the 62nd minute. Kuching City will next face Sabah FC, who advanced through a 3-2 aggregate win over UITM FC. Sarawak United FC and Melaka United FC have to bid goodbye to the 2023 Super League as their appeals for a national licence have been rejected. Malaysian Football League MFL Chief Executive Officer Tok Ramalingam said the appeals were rejected by the MFL Club Licensing Appeal Committee at a meeting in accordance with Article 344 of the MFL Club Licensing Regulations 2022 edition.
Based on Article 3.4.4 of the regulations, the appeals body can only vet through documents available at the time of the decision made by FIB. So that is the reason for the decision to be upheld. FIB's decision on the 12th of October, which was announced, the appeals body maintained the decision as a right and justified decision at that time.
Earlier, MFL Club First Instance Body FIB Chairman Sheikh Muhammad Nasir Sheikh Muhammad Sharif said Melaka United failed to submit proof of payment for salary arrears of players and officials until June and August this year. For Sarawak United, Sheikh Muhammad Nasir said they failed to meet financial and sporting criteria and had 2 cases with the International Football Federation FIFA. Marseille manager Igor Tudor expressed hope that the sideline absence of his former Juventus teammate and the current coach of the opposing Tottenham side would work in the French side's favour ahead of their UEFA Champions League match tomorrow morning. Tudor and Antonio Conte were teammates at Juventus for half a decade in the late 90s and early 2000s, and the crowd said Conte's absence could prove to be a small advantage for his side.
For Spurs, he has good impact on the team during the game. So it's better than he's not there, but the players are playing players, not the coaches, let's say. But something maybe, we hope.
Conte was suspended after seeing red in Spurs' last match in the Champions League, when they initially thought a stoppage time goal by Harry Kane against Sporting Lisbon secured qualification to the knockout stage, but after a lengthy VAR review, the goal was disallowed due to Kane being in a tight offside position. The Italian coach was not present at the team's news conference ahead of the match, but Spurs Danish midfielder Pierre-Emile Højbjerg said he expected the team to rally together to compensate for Conte's absence as the team seek a win to secure top spot in the group. Group D is the tightest group in the Champions League this season and is the only group where any of the 4 teams can still qualify and any of the 4 can miss out going into the final day of the group stage. France midfielder Paul Pogba will miss the World Cup after failing to recover from the surgery in time for this month's tournament in Qatar. Pogba underwent an operation in September, but his agent said following a medical review, the midfielder would not yet return to the Juventus squad or join up with France for the 20th November to 18 December World Cup. The 29-year-old Pogba hopes of returning to action with Juve before the World Cup were shot down early last month when manager Massimiliano Allegri said the Italian club would realistically get him back only in January. Pogba moved back to Juve in the close season after his contract with Manchester United expired, but he has yet to feature for the Serie A club after sustaining the knee injury during their pre-season tour. Defending champions France had already lost midfielder N'Golo Kante, who was ruled out for 4 months after undergoing an operation on a hamstring injury this month. Pogba was one of France's most influential players in their 2018 World Cup triumph, scoring in the final victory over Croatia as they won the global title for the second time. In tennis, Jannik Sinner was an early casualty at the Paris Masters yesterday, with the Italian 11th seed losing 6-2, 6-3 to Marc-Andrea Huesler. Huesler did not hold back on his ATP Masters main draw debut yesterday afternoon. The Swiss qualifier delivered a high-quality first-round performance to take out Sinner. The 26-year-old Huesler lifted his maiden tour-level title on indoor hard courts in Sofia at the beginning of October, but had gone love 3 since. However, after defeating Hugo Gaston and Laszlo Zverev in qualifying in Paris, the lefty brought his big serving, aggressive best to the clash against Sinner. He fired 20 winners, including 6 aces, to down the world number 12 in 68 minutes. Having only broken the top 100 of the Pepperstone ATP rankings for the first time in July, he is now growing accustomed to performing on the biggest stage the ATP Tour has to offer. Huesler's second-round opponent in Paris will be Karen Khachanov. Alright, so that concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, retabling of budget 2023 may include some adjustments. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. Till then, I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Salam Keluarga Malaysia.